Warning. The views expressed on this program are solely those of the individuals involved in the discussion and for entertainment purposes only. They do not reflect the views of Bad Bob Productions, its affiliates, or partners, and should not be considered endorsements or legal advice of any kind. This program is not intended for children under the age of 13. Parental discretion is advised.
Now, it's time to burn, burn, burn!
Yo, what's happening? It's Bad Bob. What's going on out there? And we got our best bud in the whole world on there, Base God 14. What's up, big brother? On our Saturday morning wake up, drunk, whatever you want to call it, baby. What's happening?
Now, there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on today, man. We got a lot to talk about. But I think right off the top, you wanted to talk about something that's not on the cue card, which is the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you already had a story right off the bat. Is that USA Netherlands that just ended just a few minutes ago before the broadcast?
I thought to myself, okay, let me jump on, let me see how they're doing. US, yeah, let's do it, baby, right? Since I used to play, so. And over here in Arizona, it's 3, 9, 13, typical 12, 15, those are different channels in some other places. But anyways, so I go to the local stations trying to find it because I know it's on one of them. And I ain't gonna say what channel it is, okay? But I went to a channel between 1 and 4. We'll just say, okay, somewhere in there, 2 and 4, somewhere, somewhere, a channel right in the middle somewhere, somewhere in there, and they're calling the game. They called the game. Game wasn't even over. Game still had 6 minutes on the regular clock, plus they had to throw on another 5-6 minutes on top of the clock at the end of the game. So they had 12 minutes to finish the game. Now I know for a fact, because I used to play semi-pro myself, and I played 16 years. Let me tell you something. In a 90-minute game, it's a long game, and you get your butt whooped hard. And in those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, man, you can score. I've seen it score up to 3 to 5 goals because of attitude. But here's the channel.
And I don't know if anybody else can see that Rob is frozen or if I'm frozen.
There you go. Yeah, I lost my signal again. Yeah, we got a little, just so you guys know out there, we got a little storm going over a place, and we're a little wireless out here, so it might happen a couple times. But anyways, in a nutshell, same station that calls votes for people that call before about people still standing in line. They're calling elections, and you get my drift here. They called the soccer game 12 minutes before it was even over, even though they still lost. Boy, I was pissed. Thank God I didn't have a brick in my hand. I probably would have that TV.
Now, was this an issue where the broadcast wasn't actually live, or what was going on?
No, it was live. It was live.
But they just decided to call it?
They just called it.
Based on what?
Just same crap as all the other election crap. They're just idiots. They think. I guess soccer, to score 1 point in soccer, just like when a U.S. played Iran, it was 1-0 after
Right.
an hour and a half of just straight battle. Now you
Right.
can imagine, okay, well, you got 10 minutes. Yeah, they'll never catch up. So that's how they assumed it. And of course,
Okay, I got you.
how, they're assuming. And
Yeah.
they did this. Matter of fact, I will never watch that channel and several other channels ever again. I used to do it just for fun, just to see what I'm missing, or try to be objective about a lot of the stuff that's going on, because I'm not going to lie to the people. What I see is what I see, and what I hear is what I hear, and I make a decision on how I feel about it, and I let them decide for themselves too. And I just throw the info out there, and if you don't like it, okay, whatever. You can check it out yourself. So, anyways, the old cat back there just tearing you up back there. Yes, there we go. Anyway.
Yeah, I actually watched some of the last about 20 minutes of the game, so I got to see the one goal that USA did against the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I was one of the things I'll mention is I will say names is that there's two different ways to watch. Actually, technically four, although two of them are basically the same. So for people that don't realize it, there's actually a lot better coverage on Telemundo than there is on Fox. Fox only has a certain number of games. So if you're absolutely like, oh, I got to have it in English, you're limited. But if you go to Telemundo, which does it in Spanish, they have way more games, way more coverage of the entire event. And the other thing that's interesting is both of them also have streaming platforms. Fox has Tubi, and then Telemundo actually has Peacock, because people don't realize that maybe that Telemundo is actually part of Universal. Universal and NBC, they're all the same company. So I would just kind of throw that out there. I actually have watched a few games, or at least parts of games, on Telemundo because they weren't available on Fox. Because Fox is being very selective about which games they actually show. I think there's a big one also later today, right? I think Argentina's playing, which is another big one. I think that's coming up today. But I was disappointed to see that the USA got knocked out, but I think they kind of overperformed, So
yeah, well, they're out. So
they're out.
They're gone. So,
but who is not out? I just want a quick segue into college football. Right now, TCU. And I always like to do my live updates. I always have a game on in the background if there is a game on. And TCU right now is playing Kansas State for the Big 12 college conference championship for the Big 12. And they're up 7-0 right now against Kansas State. TCU gets absolutely zero respect, it seems to me, from the media. But right now they are up 7-0. And I definitely have to mention, I watched last night. I watched the Utah USC game. Wow. I mean, USC just fell apart. They lost 24-47. And Utah, This is the second time Utah has beat them this season. The earlier win, Utah only won by 1 point. But this time they just thrashed them in the Pac-12 championship. And for people that are kind of in the know, what that means, of course, is that the Pac-12 is not going to go to the college playoffs. So the Pac-12, once again, just maintains that reputation of just being, just being a meat grinder, and there will be no team from the Pac-12 going to the college championship, the college football national championship.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's over.
It's it for the Pac-12. Obviously, like right now, TCU is playing Kansas State. Pretty much everybody acknowledges that if TCU wins this game, they're in the playoff. We've got another big game later, which is Michigan versus Purdue. which should be really interesting because even though Purdue is not a ranked team, they've been playing really well lately. That game is at 6 p.m. on Fox, and so that should be a nice late game for a lot of folks. That's the Big Ten championship. So a lot of people say even if Michigan loses, they're still in, which is kind of weird, but that's what a lot of people are saying. But we'll see what happens, obviously. Another big one is Georgia versus LSU. That's going to be on CBS at 2 o'clock. These are Arizona times, by the way. But 2 o'clock Arizona time, LSU and Georgia. And then another big one is Clemson and North Carolina. That one has less implications because people don't really think Clemson has any chance of getting into the playoff. But, because of what happened and because, Utah won, you never know. Because right now what everybody is saying is that since Ohio State is ranked number 5, even though they're not playing today, and they didn't play yesterday, because they didn't make it into their championship because they lost to Michigan. Everybody says since they're the 5th team that they're going to get in the playoffs now. But we'll see what happens. The final selection still have to be made after these games are played. So there is, I guess, a sort of a long shot I'm talking long shot with the Clemson, North Carolina. That's at 6 o'clock on ABC. If Clemson does win, you never know. Maybe they could take them in. I don't think it'll happen. I think they are going to take Ohio State. The more curious thing is what happens with this TCU game, because I think TCU is the most vulnerable just because they have the least amount of respect from the playoff committee. And so if TCU were to lose, I think there is a definite chance of them being out, even though they'd only have one loss. But it gets kind of weird. The college football playoff is really strange because it's a ranked system. And so these, in a lot of ways, these conference championships, they don't really matter. They do and they don't. Like for USC, it mattered because they were in the top 4, they lost, and they're going to be taken out of the top 4. But it doesn't seem fair to me that they're going to be punished for playing an extra game, and then a team like Ohio State that didn't make it into their conference championship, they actually can be rewarded for not playing that extra game. See what I'm saying? Right. And it's like that system is being changed. They're going to change the college football championship, I think, 2 years from now. I don't think it's next year, but I think it's a year afterwards. They're changing the system. And we can get into that at a different time because I have some issues with that as well. But right now, like I said, TCU's up 7, Kansas State 0, big game with obviously college football playoff implications.
Cool. Okay. Well, speaking of implications and different viewing channels, it looks like the Chinese people have a little issue trying to talk to each other out there in China. It looks like somebody it looks like they've been cut off from the world.
Oh yeah.
And,
this is
but I know you got some stuff on that one. That's something that everybody wants to know about. What's happening there?
All right. Yeah, I do have an article for you. Let me bring it up. This has been an interesting story. Also a tragic story in a lot of ways. So here, let me get into it here. So this is from theguardian.com, and this article was written just yesterday, Friday, December 2nd. Okay. It says China brings in emergency level censorship over zero COVID protests. Crackdown on virtual private networks, which protesters used to access banned non-Chinese news and social media apps. We've got a nice picture of a little line here of China's police officers. Chinese authorities have initiated the highest emergency response level of censorship, according to leaked directives, including a crackdown on VPNs and other methods of bypassing online censorship after unprecedented protests demonstrated widespread public frustration with the zero COVID policy. The crackdown, including the tracking and questioning of protesters, comes alongside the easing of pandemic restrictions and an apparent carrot and stick approach to an outpouring of public grievances. During an extraordinary week in China, protests against zero COVID restrictions, including criticism of the authoritarian rule of Xi Jinping, which was further highlighted by the death of former Chinese leader Jiang Zemin. Which, by the way, I did not realize Jiang Zemin was even still alive. Leaked directives issued to online Chinese platforms, first published by a Twitter account devoted to sharing protest-related information, have revealed authorities' specific concerns about the growing interest among citizens in circumventing China's so-called Great Firewall. The demonstrations have been strictly censored, but protesters and other citizens have this week used VPNs to access non-Chinese news and social media apps that are banned in China. The directives, also published and translated by the China Digital Times, a US-based news site focused on Chinese censorship, came from China's Cyberspace Administration and announced a, quote, level 1 internet emergency response, the highest level of content management, which is really interesting. So they're at their highest level of censorship right now. It ordered managers to take a hands-on approach and strengthen the content management to rapidly identify, deal with, and report information about what it termed offline disturbances and recent high-profile events in various provinces. The incident on November, this is a quote, it says, the incident on November 24th triggered expressions of various grievances. It said, according to CDT's translation, in a reference to the Urumqi, which, by the way, I know I'm butchering that, building fire, which killed 10 people, which I'm sure some people have heard about that building fire. Political slogans appeared in Shanghai. College and university students held conspicuous political gatherings. Smears by foreign media increased, and various websites have strengthened their content management. This is all the reaction of the Chinese to this incident. I like it how they call it the incident, Rob. 10 people died in a fire. Basically, I guess I lost Rob. But 10 people died in a fire because of the restrictive nature of the Chinese lockdown. So 10 people died in a fire, and there have been protests basically ever since. Looks like we're hopefully getting Bad Bob back here. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know we lost you for a second. Let me get you back here.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties, folks, with the internet situation. But so what we were just talking about is obviously there was this fire that happened in a building in a Chinese city. And the reason that these people died was because they were in quarantine. They were in quarantine due to the lockdown, right? That's why they were trapped in this building.
Really?
And yeah, see what happens is, and this is something, I've got another source here, which, you know, I've talked to you about Peter Zion before.
Right.
And Peter Zion had a video where he was talking about what's happened with the Chinese government. Okay. And basically what's happening is it's become literally a one-man show with Z. Okay. So he is basically it. Okay. Everybody else is just trying to figure out what he wants. And you have this Chinese zero COVID policy where they have these extreme lockdowns. And so what's happening is you have people trying to figure out the will of Z. They're trying to figure out, what does he want us to do? So he says you actually have cases of basically the equivalent of HOAs, okay? Basically the equivalent of HOAs in our country that are like locking fire escapes. Think about that. So that's what they're doing. They're like, they're so crazy about this lockdown, and they're so crazy about how do they appeal to their beloved leader. How do they do his will? You have guys that are basically like HOA presidents, right? And they are literally locking fire escapes. They're locking, fire doors. And that's what's happened. That's why these people were killed. Okay. And people in China, I think, understand this. At least a lot of them do, especially students, educated people. This is another thing from the Chinese perspective. It says, it noted upcoming dates during which managers should take particular care. We're talking about managers and IT people and things like that, including the 1-week anniversary of the fire, World Human Rights Day, the International Anti-Corruption Day. They also ordered e-commerce platforms to clean up the availability of products and apps and harmful content designed to circumvent internet restrictions such as VPNs and firewall circumventing routers, which basically means like the Chinese equivalent of, say, like the Apple Store or the Google Store, whatever they have, their equivalence is over there. They're basically telling them get rid of things like VPNs. So it's a really, really, really crazy situation. Also, one thing I didn't realize was about the death of Jiang. It says protesters and residents who want to air their grievances about the zero COVID policy or other aspects of life in China have been playing a cat and mouse game with censors this week. The death of 96-year-old Jiang, announced on Wednesday, provided one avenue for some to creatively express dissatisfaction with Xi. Jiang left a mixed legacy. Elevated to leader of the Chinese Communist Party during the Tiananmen protests and massacre in 1989, Jiang oversaw the subsequent crackdown as well as repression of the Falun Gong practitioners. He also shepherded China out of the international isolation that followed 1989, grew the country's economy, and led it to greater international participation. He was also much more outwardly expressive and participatory with media, in stark contrast to notoriously closed-off Xi. So it says, under the increasingly authoritarian and globally isolated role of Xi, young people have in recent years begun to look at the Jiang era more fondly. More than 500,000 commentators flooded state broadcaster CCTV's post on the Twitter-like platform Weibo, I think it's Weibo, within an hour of his death being announced, many referring to him as Grandpa Jiang. Quote, Toad, we blamed you wrongfully before. You're the ceiling, not the floor, said once censored comment using a popular and mildly affectionate nickname for Jiang, which is Toad. Toad is a nickname for Jiang, apparently. So it says, in retirement, Jiang became the subject of lighthearted memes among millennial and Gen Z Chinese fans who call themselves Toad worshippers, enthralled to his frog-like countenance and quirky mannerisms, which is also funny. Like if you know anything about Xi, there's a Winnie the Pooh thing about him. So it's kind of funny the way that even, we think of China obviously as a communist country, and it is very repressed, but I think it's funny the way they make fun of their own leaders. So like with Xi, it's Winnie the Pooh, which by the way is banned. Winnie the Pooh memes are like banned over there in China because it's a way to make fun of Xi. And with Jiang, this other leader that just died, they used to call him Toad. You know what I mean? That was their way of, and they say it was more affectionate with him. It was, but still, it's just funny how they're not as reverent as we might think. But the bottom line of this article is that the Chinese have totally ratcheted up their crackdown to the highest possible level of what they call the Great Firewall. And it's going to be really interesting to see what this leads to, because obviously they wouldn't be doing this if they weren't concerned. You know what I mean? They would not be doing this if they were not concerned about the reaction of these people and these protests, which are growing in China. And I'm curious, Rob, hopefully your internet keeps up, but what do you think about this?
Well, the thing. Isn't that the same? The guy that died, isn't that the same guy they hauled out that was sitting next to the president?
No, you're talking the person that we talked about before. We did that on a previous show. He was the previous leader. So he was the guy that was the president before Xi. Jiang, the guy that just died, was 96 years old. He was the guy that was in charge during the Tiananmen Square massacre back all the way 89. Okay, so he was like the guy in the 90s, which I thought he was dead, to be honest with you, because I remember, I remember him. I remember who was in charge during the Tiananmen Square massacre, and because that was obviously a big deal, and that was a big thing for me at that time, growing up, and I was very into politics and the collapse of the Berlin Wall, all that stuff was happening during that time. But anyway, that's the person that just died. It's not the guy that was carried away that we talked about earlier.
I was going to say that would have been bad. I mean, it's already bad enough the way it is. You know,
Yeah.
those poor people out there. My God, and you know, it's good. You know what? Good for them. I hope they step up and they take them out. I just all there is to it. Just get them out. Get them out. There's so much crap going on right now. Especially speaking of that, was there anything else you want to talk about with the Chinese stuff?
No, I that was it. I mean, like, I think the major takeaway for me is just, obviously the Chinese are reacting to this in a way that tells me they're starting to panic a little bit. That these protests are becoming more effective and the protesters are getting better at communicating. So they're basically going to they're going to like their equivalent of the Apple store. They're going their equivalent of the Google store and saying, you know what? Take down the VPNs, take down all the anti-spyware, take all that stuff down, because they're afraid, you know, and when a government is afraid of its own people, you know, that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing.
Speaking of bad things, we got the Kerry Lake thing going on over here. State, which really by got my hobby, yeah.
I'm definitely having some problems hearing you, Rob. We definitely have some audio difficulties right now. All right, I lost Rob, so I will go ahead and share the article that I have here. Obviously, we're talking about Arizona's election chaos. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. If Rob comes back on, unfortunately, I might not be able to see him because I don't have two screens, so I can't read the article and also see the control room at the same time. But I do have an article here about what's been going on with the Arizona elections, and you know, kind of what a mess it's been lately. So let's start with this story here. This is from a local Arizona news source. So let me put myself down at the bottom there. This is called The Miner. Okay, so this is actually as I understand it, this is like the local news source for the areas of Kingman, Arizona, and Mojave County. And so this article is, what's the date on it? It was originally published December 1st, 2022. It says, after certifying in duress, Gould speaks out. So this is from Kingman. Mojave County Board of Supervisors Chairman Ron Gould of District 5 certified the county's election results from the November 8th direction in duress. I think it meant election, but it says November 8th direction. I think they meant election. Since then, he's released a news release stating the canvass delay was a political statement to the role of the Maricopa County supervisors played in the election. Supervisors certified the election on Monday, November 28th, after first delaying the canvass. The board flirted with not certifying the election, but ultimately did shortly after 2 p.m. on November 8th. If supervisors did not certify the election, they could have faced criminal charges and possibly jail time. Gould also applauded Mojave County Elections Department Director Alan Tempert, who had been the election director for 2 decades. During the November 28th special meeting, Gould proposed obtaining an outside inspection of cast ballots, cast vote record, and the system file log. A court order would have been needed to get that information. The press release reads as follows. On Monday, November 28th, 2022, at a 4-0 vote, the Mojave County Board of Supervisors canvassed Mojave County's election results. Please note that I am referring to Mojave County's election results. Each of Arizona's 15 counties canvassed the results for their own county. The Mojave County Board of Supervisors did not canvass the results for Maricopa County or any other county, nor did we canvass the state results. The governor, attorney general, the secretary of state have that job. Mojave County's election process was smoothly run by election director Alan Tempert. Mr. Tempert has been election director for over 20 years and knows his job well. You will always have hiccups in an election, but my office received only 2 complaints regarding this election. The supervisors held off the canvass until the deadline of November 28th to allow any complaints to rise to the surface and make a political statement to the Maricopa County supervisors regarding their poor handling of their county's election. I received many requests to not canvass our election. The ramifications of not canvassing Mojave County's election are, number 1, the votes cast by Mojave County voters would not be added to the statewide totals. This would cause Republican Party to lose the statewide positions we have won. The still contested Attorney General, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, along with 2 corporation commissioners. The election of county positions would be declared null and void. The 6 elected Mojave County Superior Court judges would be replaced with judges appointed by the apparent governor, Katie Hobbs. The other county positions would be filled by the governor or the Board of Supervisors. Another fact to keep in mind, the candidates cannot begin their lawsuits to challenge the election results until the completion of the state canvass. The canvass is not the end of the process, it is a step along the way. A legal problem has surfaced as we moved through the canvass process. We received a letter from the Secretary of State's office informing the supervisors that we would be criminally charged with a Class 6 felony if we didn't vote to canvass. That threat was confirmed by the board's attorney, that a no vote would bring a criminal charge. Some have attempted to label me a coward for not voting no, but as you can see, there was really nothing to gain by my constituents for me voting no. There are other legal paths to follow regarding the issue. The policy of vote yes to canvass or go to jail is clearly not what our founders had in mind when they formed our republic. So that is the statement by Mojave County Supervisor Ron Gould of District 5, where he was basically saying that that he basically voted under duress, but he didn't feel like he had any other real option, because if he had not voted, what would have happened is that he would have basically been arrested. And also the other implication that he is saying is that if he had voted no on certification, then, Mojave County's votes could have been in jeopardy, which could have jeopardized, say, the school superintendent race, which the Republicans are winning, or at this point won. I don't believe that's going to recount. So, and obviously there's the treasurer's office, that kind of a thing. So, although that one was way ahead. But anyway, that's kind of where he's coming from. Rob, I don't know how much of that you were able to hear, but definitely would like to hear your reaction to what you did hear. If you were still here. It looks like I lost you again. I thought we had Rob back. So I think Rob might be trying to text me at this point as well. So obviously he's having some he's getting slammed. He says on his he just sent me a text. I'm just going to tell him I'm going to keep this going as long as I can. Keep it going. I'll just tell him to come back when he can. And I apologize for that, but we do have, like, where I'm at in Arizona right now, I've got clouds and rain is expected. Rob lives farther east than me. I live like in the Scottsdale area, and Rob lives like way farther east than I do. And so if you got a storm, I mean, not much you can do there. And I will I think he's kind of back. Let's see if he's back. Rob, you back? You able to hear me?
Yeah.
Rob, what you might want to do is if you turn off your camera, you might the bandwidth might go down a little bit, because you're probably taking extra bandwidth for the image. So if you turn off your camera, that might help. I don't know. It might help a little bit. And I think he froze again. Well, I'll go ahead and share another article here. I'm going to go ahead and share another article because there is another county that got involved in this. And I think a lot of people were talking about this. So this is from Fox News. And where's the date on this? This was dated December 2nd. The broadcast is December 3rd. And this is in regards, again, to the Arizona certification. So it says, Arizona County certifies election results following order from judge. A judge ruled Republican supervisors had broken the law by delaying the certification. Arizona County certified its midterm election results Thursday after a judge ruled that Republican supervisors had broken the law when they refused to sign off on the vote count by this week's deadline. 2 Republicans on Cochise County's 3-member board of supervisors had said they weren't satisfied that the machines used to tabulate ballots were properly certified for use in elections. So we're talking about Cochise County now, not Mojave County. Federal and state election officials have said that they were. So again, the argument that Cochise County was saying was that they weren't satisfied with the machines, that they were properly certified. And basically, Katie Hobbs' office said, oh, yeah, of course they are. On Monday, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs filed suit. A local voter and a group of retirees did as well, asking the judge to make the supervisors certify the election. Hobbs said that she is required to hold the statewide certification December 5th and by law can delay it only until December 8th. Judge Casey McGilley ordered the supervisors on Thursday to convene within 90 minutes and to approve the election canvass by the end of the day. One Republican supervisor reportedly skipped the meeting. The vote allows the statewide certification to go forward as scheduled Monday. The board members represent themselves in court because the elected county attorney refused to handle the cases, saying that they had acted illegally. Supervisor Ann English, the board's only Democrat, later urged McGinley to order the board to immediately certify the election and not wait another day, accusing Crosby of trying to stage a smackdown between the Secretary of State and the election deniers in a Friday meeting. Days before the November 8th election, the supervisors abandoned plans to hand count all ballots, which the court said would be illegal. But they demanded last week that Hobbs prove vote counting machines were legally certified before they would approve the election results. On Monday, they said they wanted to hear again about those concerns before voting on certification, and the Friday meeting is scheduled for that purpose. And then it says Hobbs, a Democrat elected governor in November, had warned that she may have to certify statewide results without numbers from Cochise County if they weren't received on time. So these were the 2 counties basically that were kind of fighting the certification of the election. And they both kind of had different approaches to this. So in the case of Mojave County, you had a supervisor that basically told everyone, hey, I am going to certify the election, but I'm doing it under duress. And I'm doing it because I don't have any choice. Because if I don't do this, they're going to arrest me. That's what happened in Mojave County. In Cochise County, they actually tried not to certify. They actually sort of called the bluff, if you will. And what ended up happening was a judge ordered them to go ahead and certify the election anyway. And one of the supervisors just didn't show up to the meeting, which I assume was his way of protesting the certification, was he just didn't show up. So that's kind of where we're at. I can kind of see you, Rob. I don't know if you can even hear me or anything like that, because I did suggest that you might want to turn your camera off because that might help with your bandwidth issue. Are you there? So I think Rob is still frozen at this point. We've got 2 Robs at this point. Okay. Hey, Rob, you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I suggest that maybe you turn off your camera to help with your bandwidth issue. That might help a little bit, where maybe you're not taking as much bandwidth.
I'm actually on my phone. I'm on my phone now. I'm not on the computer anymore. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried phone, it's off the phone too. So I
Okay.
was wondering, that was kind of interesting. So it's okay. I'm back for now. Got a little halo above my head, but I'm all right. That means I'm a good guy.
All right, that works. I can hear you, so that's the good thing. So basically, I was kind of summing it up that basically that we had two issues, two different counties. What's that? Oh, now I'm losing you again, Rob. You're getting choppy again.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I apologize for the technical issues here. But we are having some technical problems with Rob since he's basically in the middle of a storm. So, which I guess could happen to me depending on which way the storm is going. We usually do have storms roll in from the east and then they'll just keep going, which means it will hit me eventually, as well. We'll see how that goes. So anybody who's out here in Arizona and Phoenix metro area, yeah, so be careful, obviously, because apparently there's some bad storms going on today. Well, you look like you're frozen at this point, Rob. So I'm not sure if I should. Well, there's not really another story to go on with unless unless you come back, because I'm not doing the surf report. You're the one doing the surf report. So we'll kind of try to monitor this situation. I think Rob is trying to text me again. Yeah, he says he got cut off of his phone. Again, I apologize for this. This will be really interesting to see how this podcast turns out, because I don't know how much of this is even audible at this point. Yeah. So again, as far as the chaos of the Arizona election system, we obviously, have an issue here with how these two counties have tried to deal with the situation, because you have a lot of people in Arizona that right now are very upset, particularly about Maricopa County. And that's kind of the interesting thing. So Maricopa County itself, they certified their election right away. The election commissioner, I believe, was Bill Gates. He is a member of the County Board of Supervisors. He was constantly on the media, constantly out there, putting on what I would call a dog and pony show. He took no responsibility for anything, any of the problems, and just said that, oh, this wasn't a big deal. You know what I mean? And, my take is that I feel like at least in Mojave and Cochise, these guys were at least trying to say, hey, there's some problems here with the way that Maricopa County ran their election, and we don't really want to have anything to do with this. But they were forced by either coercion or by a judge's order. So in the case of Mojave County, it was coercion, where they were threatened with imprisonment. In Cochise County, it was a judge. And that's basically where we stand at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that you can hear, Rob. So
I can hear you now. Can you hear me pretty good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I just I got off of Wi-Fi completely and just went straight cellular with my phone. So
okay,
that might be what's happening. The storm is pretty bad above my head, so I was just getting hit with lightning bolts all over the place. So
that'll mess it up.
They're carrying me all over the world right now. So okay, so no, I did hear the very end of that, but I'd like to say a few things too.
Yeah.
This corrupt government that's happening over here in Maricopa, it needs to go away. And I've been watching a lot of the behind the scenes, a lot of locals and programs, and they are coming together. They are going to get rid of those people that are in charge. They are going to lose their jobs, and I can't believe that they wouldn't look into this matter any deeper than what they did. they just, I mean, as guilty is all sin right there in front of the entire state. They just said, sorry, we're you don't vote us in. We're going to arrest you and throw you in jail and put those people under duress like that. That's absolutely uncalled for. That's done. It's over. And
No,
when
no,
I'm kind of
I don't know if you heard this part, Rob, but one of the
yeah,
arguments at Gould, he's the supervisor in Mojave County that said he voted under duress.
yes,
One of the points that he made in his statement, I don't know if you heard it, was that basically what he was saying was, even if he had voted no, all he really would have done was negated the votes from Mojave County, and possibly we possibly would have lost the superintendent race. That's one of his arguments, because Mojave County is heavily Republican, and that's a very tight race. And definitely, because there is a recount going on for the attorney general, he's like, yeah, there'd be no chance for Hamadeh if I decertified Mojave County's votes. There's absolutely no way that he would be able to win the recount.
well, that's here and there. You can't do that. It doesn't matter if the way it's supposed to work is if there's a problem, it needs to be fixed. And if you don't fix it, you can't continue. Nobody on those ballots can contest anything until it's all said and done. That seems to be the problem with these people out there. They think that they're running the show. They're not running shit. We're the ones that put them in office. They don't do no. But you're right. That's what they keep saying to everybody, and everybody's like, oh, and if you don't do this, we're going to do that, and if you don't do this, we're going to do that, and then we're going to put you in jail if you don't do this. And if you really, well, guess what? And then I hear they did this under duress, so we can now go to court about it, and then have a judge decide about it. Whoa, wait a minute. Judge has nothing to do with all this shit to begin with. This is the election not the electors, but the ones that are in charge of the voting. They run
the election commissions. Yeah.
Every
county has its own election commission, basically.
That's right. And they don't by through the Constitution, they have the right to stop the election and recount. Anything fraudulent that happens, they can stop it immediately until they figure it out and then continue. This is not a race to a finish line. If just because we have to wait an extra couple weeks to recount something or whatever it is, the people of their counties, unfortunately, they're going to have to pay for a recount. That's just all there is to it. They're already spending our tax money anyways, so let's go ahead and spend our tax money on the recount. If that's what's going on and we're getting hammered, okay, stop. That's it. Just start recounting immediately. And that they won't do it. They keep saying, no, we're going to put you in jail if you don't do this. And if you don't do this, if you do it, then they're telling us that, certify us first, and then you can come after us after it's all said and done. Meanwhile, we'll just keep spending your money, or we'll keep voting other people into office for their power trip that they're trying to impose on our counties.
The last I heard, because we talked about Hamadeh's lawsuit last week. The last I heard was his lawsuit got tossed out exactly for what you just said. In other words, what they told Hamadeh was, the election has not been certified yet, therefore you don't have any standing yet. The election has to be certified, then he can proceed with his lawsuit.
See, that's
it's a chicken and the egg kind of problem, where basically
it is.
Here's the other thing that I think is interesting too. The election has not been certified. In fact, the article I was reading said it'll be certified on Monday, right? That's when the official certification will happen.
That's right.
And as of today, this broadcast is on a Saturday, December 3rd, for anybody that hearing the replay. So they say on Monday is when they're supposed to certify. Yet, how does everybody refer, at least the media, how do they refer to Katie Hobbs, Governor-elect Hobbs, right? How does she refer to herself now, Governor-elect? The election has not technically been certified yet. So she is not the governor-elect until the election is certified. But
that's right.
The media, right? We were talking about, like you were talking about, certain networks like to call races very early, or even call soccer games very early. This is conditioning, right? This is conditioning that's going on, where basically the media is saying, hey, this is governor-elect, this is senator-elect, this is whoever. Wait a second. I thought you also said we need to certify the election still, that the election has not been certified.
That's right.
That would mean they have not been elected yet, right?
That's right.
So that's something that I think is that's like psychological warfare. That's kind of something that screws with your head. You know what I mean? Because you're getting contradictory messages, you know?
This is part of that new world order crap. Everybody's shut up, listen to what I tell you, and do what I tell you to do now. And if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. You're going to jail. And that's exactly what's happening. And they're just telling everybody, piss off. Your shit don't matter. Your the third black bag, it still hasn't been counted. The truckloads. Did you hear about that one? The one in Pennsylvania, the mail courier, semi trucks of votes just disappeared.
I did hear that there's a couple counties in Pennsylvania that were also trying to either delay or not to certify their votes, but I didn't have.
That's right.
I didn't keep that article. I just read it, and then I didn't unfortunately keep it. But I know that there is something going on in Pennsylvania as well, where several counties in Pennsylvania were also kind of saying they did not want to certify their election.
That's right. I've tried to reach out to those other individuals that I was telling you about last week, and I haven't gotten any response from them. But I will, because they're up to their ears with people fighting this right now, and I understand they're busy, and just trying to get them on our show and not, or just answer an email. Is almost like pulling teeth right now, but I'm going to keep pushing at it and keep sending them messages. And they really have their finger on what's going on in all these other states, because they've been doing it for years and years now. They know the people. They know the people that are in charge by name. They know the people that are standing up for what's happening. And even the pillow guy, I'm telling you what, those charts, I'm trying to get those charts. If I can get those charts, then I can really show the public and show you guys out there what's really going on as far as the spikes in the voting. It will blow your mind. You will just say, whoa, where did you get that? Well, they got it. They knew about it because they were doing it live when everybody was voting. And again, let's get back to those channels again that I was talking about in you just a few minutes ago. Calling elections, the big 3-letter networks, they are just, I don't know what's going on with those guys, man. I don't get it. Well, actually, I do get it.
I was going to say, I think I get it. It's almost like they all read from the same script. They're given a script that they're all supposed to read from. I made the point a while back about, going to the gym the day after the election, and I decided to look actually at Fox News. I will say it. Fox News is not your friend. For a lot of you people that think they are, they're not. And
That's right.
Fox News, their main ticker, okay, because they're out covering the national elections, right? No red wave. Republicans underperformed, blah, blah, blah. Republicans won the House, guys. I don't know how many times I have to say this. The Republicans won. We took
Yeah,
the House.
there
Pelosi
was
is
another.
out. Okay.
There's another
Pelosi,
seat that
but I'm
got
just
won
saying
today.
that's it. That is it. It's game over.
That's it.
Okay. We were getting
That's
in the
right.
House, but then they're like, oh, but they didn't take the Senate. Oh, but they lost this thing. And it's like, all it was is a psych op on you as a Republican. If you're a Republican, this is a psychological operation on you to make you feel defeated, to make you feel like your vote didn't count, to make you feel like a loser, because that's what they want. They want you to feel and guess what? The other thing they want is for you to stop going to the polls.
That's right.
They want you to feel like your vote doesn't count.
That's right.
I'll go there. I will go there because I can see what they're trying to do.
So
everybody's on the same page. All the major news networks are on the same page with the same exact headline. No red wave. No red wave.
Let me
Republicans
ask you this.
won. We won the House.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Base God 14. If you were to run the election, how would you require the votes for anybody, president, whatever, House, Senate, whatever? How would you want them to vote to be secure that nobody can mess with? Well, how would you run it? How would you, in other words, would it be a piece of paper with just their names on it and you have a thumbprint on it and then you have to handwrite your name and your address and your phone number? Or how would you do that to secure America's votes?
Well, I feel like there's two things. First of all, I feel like, how far back do I have to go? The shenanigans for me.
Just for now.
No,
I mean,
there's two options. What I'm trying to say, going backwards and going forwards. Okay. The going backwards option is that I feel like I'm trying to remember when the first election was that I saw problems. That was the same one with when Bernie Sanders. It was actually when Bernie Sanders was running. It was that was the first time that Trump ran too. Okay, so the first time I saw problems was actually the Democratic primary in Arizona, which the Republicans were doing theirs as well, but the Republican one wasn't really that contested. Trump, they were trying to get Ted Cruz, I think, in, but Trump really won the state easily. But they went after Bernie Sanders. And they tried to disenfranchise Bernie Sanders voters. I totally believe that because I was here. And what they did was they took away the voting districts. So basically, forever, we've had precincts where you went to your own precinct, right? And you'd pretty much go to the same place. It might be a church. It might be a community building, a senior center, a school. You went to the same place every time. They had physical rolls. They just crossed your name off. You know what I mean? You vote. Yep. That's it. You're done. Okay. And they also had those nice ballots that I liked where all you did was put a straight line. It was an arrow and you just completed the arrow to whatever candidate you wanted. It didn't mess your arms up. Like I had like arthritis after voting this last time, right? Especially with the judges, those stupid bubbles. I think that's a way to go after older voters. I really do. And disabled voters. And nobody brings that up because it's so much easier to make a cross than it is to do the stupid bubble, right?
Yeah.
But my point is, prior to that election with Bernie Sanders, where I saw that's where they first got rid of your precincts. Okay. That's the first time they closed down precincts and they had these, go to this center instead. It wasn't vote anywhere, but it was go to this place instead. And I feel they were trying to disenfranchise people. I really feel that. And then what happened later was when Fontes got in, because of that debacle, that's how we got Fontes. We got Fontes because there was a Republican in charge when they went after Sanders. Okay. There was a Republican in charge. They went after Sanders, which is kind of funny because why would a Republican want to get Hillary elected? Right. But there's deals going on or people are just stupid, right? Incompetence too. But Fontes got in as county recorder because of the debacle that happened with that election, with that primary.
Okay.
And so then what did he do? do, and what did the state do? By the way, the legislature is culpable in this too. They took away
Yes.
all the precincts and they made this vote anywhere system, right? Where they have these vote centers and you can vote from anywhere. And this is so convenient and this is so wonderful. And then they also added the bubbles. They came out with the bubbles. Yeah. So the first thing I would say is there was nothing wrong with the way the elections were before that event. So if we went back to that system, I'd be fine. If we just went back to the way things were before that primary election with Bernie Sanders, I think there was nothing wrong with the Arizona election system and we would be fine. Bring back the precincts, okay? Bring back the ballots with the line across them, make things simple, and stop overthinking it and stop trying to manipulate people's votes. The other way to go is...
Well, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So do you think your area that you're talking about, your precinct, does it really matter? Does it really matter what precinct you're in to vote for somebody?
I think it does. I think it's important. I like the precinct system. I don't like this vote anywhere system. I really don't.
Well,
by the way, there was always the option. There was always the option to go and vote like at the state office. Like that option was still there. So they did have a quote unquote vote. It's not vote anywhere. There's another term for it because it's basically vote from anywhere, right? You vote from anywhere. So that's the way we do it now.
Well,
there was always that option that you could go down to the state office and vote if you weren't able to vote at your precinct for some reason. Okay.
Okay. Well,
but I like the precincts. I personally like the precincts.
Hold on for a second. So if you know that Joe Blow is your representative in your precinct, does it matter that you have to vote in that precinct, in that area, or does it or can you go outside the area and still vote for that same guy or girl?
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like these. I think there are circumstances where you might need to do that. You know what I mean? And that option should be available in terms of there can be certain locations that it's basically vote from anywhere, right? But I don't think in general that's the way that we should be running elections. I like the precinct system. I think the precinct system is superior as far as containing voter fraud. Because I think when you have a precinct and it's just bread and butter, they've got their list. They know exactly who can vote in their precinct, and it's not a big, huge list, right? Because it's just one precinct.
Yeah.
It's not a statewide list like it is now on a computer. They used to have a physical list, physical copy, and then cross your name off. You know what I mean? We don't do that anymore because it's all based on computer now.
See, I like that.
I don't like that.
I think that's good.
I think that is a recipe for fraud.
What you talking about? Well, no, for having your name on a list, is that good or bad to you?
That's good to me. That's what we should be doing.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this.
That system worked.
So that special case
but Rob, my point is you cannot one point, Rob, one point. You can't have a list, a physical list, if it's a statewide list. That list would be
that's right.
Insane, right?
No, I get it.
So you have to have precincts. If you want a physical list, you have to have precincts.
Okay, so you got that. Okay, so what else? What else were you going to say on that?
Well, the other way to go is to look at what Florida's doing, because everybody gave high marks to Florida on how they ran their election, and we know that Florida changed because of the 2000 election, because of the debacle that happened there with the butterfly ballots. I mean, the hanging chads, all that kind of stuff. So Florida really looked at their system and improved it. And remember, their results were out like within a couple hours, right? After their polls were closed. We already knew exactly what happened in Florida, right? It was like immediate almost. And you would think in the year 2022, in the most powerful, richest nation on the planet, we can do that, We can do that. Instead of waiting like you were talking about, waiting for all these little spikes, these fun little spikes that come out over the night, over the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
The vote drops. We're like, oh, this vote drop's coming. This vote dump is coming in. This is coming in from here. This is coming in from there. It's like, it's ridiculous. That is not the way to run elections. That is pathetic. And the Arizona election system is only worse in my mind than the only ones that are worse are California. I've talked about California and how I think they're still counting votes. And then you got the crazy stuff going on in Maine and Alaska with their ranked system, their ranked voter system, where I think we still don't know who's going to be elected in those places because they have the ranked system.
Yeah.
Now, so they got to start counting number twos. Who is your second choice? I don't understand that system. I don't understand how anybody is into that system, but that's what Maine and Alaska are doing. So there are places that are worse, Rob. I'll say that there are places that are worse.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think we wrapped up some pretty good stuff today. It's about that good old time, anyways. Unfortunately, I wish we could have got some more stuff in for me, but that's okay. Storms.
You're not going to mention your surf report real quick?
Oh, hey, I forgot all about that. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, the surf report down El Porto, Manhattan, Redondo Beach, Newport, all the way down to San Diego, all the way up to Malibu. Let me tell you about this a little bit about surf. It's about 1 to 3 feet max, a little blown out. It's raining on the beach. It's stormy. So if if you want to get out and just get wet and catch a few, bring your longboard. The shortboards ain't gonna work very good, but bring out your 6'2", 6'8", and just get out there and some of your longboards and just hang some tent out there and have a good time. And but anyways, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And I guess we're looking to see you guys soon again. Unfortunately, well, hopefully it won't be raining and taking out our power everywhere we're at next weekend. But we're looking forward to seeing you guys again. And Base Guy 14, been a wonderful show. We'll see you next Saturday morning, 10:30. All right. So we'll talk. We'll see you guys soon.
Okay, I just want to mention.
Yeah.
Want to mention before we sign off here, this football game is heating up. Kansas State is now up 14-7 over TCU. So TCU is in the danger zone. About, I think, 3 minutes to halftime right now. So we could have an upset over here in the Big 12 and obviously college football playoff implications with this game. So as of right now, it looks like TCU is losing this game.
Cool. All right, guys. All right. We will see you guys soon. You guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll talk shortly. And have a good day. Bye.